Greetings and welcome to another edition of AllHorseTalk.com. I'm your host, Alita Bunny Hendricks, and today's topic is how to tie a stock tie. There are times in formal attire when you need a stock tie, either in dressage or eventing, or if you are riding in a hunter classic or appointments class where you wear the traditional hunter shad belly jacket. So I prefer the stock tie for me, the stock tie of choice is the regular old-fashioned long one-piece stock tie. There are other options that are available that are in quick tie. There's a quick tie version where it's basically a choker with a little bit of a Velcro thing and a little bit of a stock tie edge on it. Those are workable. There's another type that a lot of folks in the dressage world use. It's a bib type. It just kind of goes over any shirt at all, and those are good for quick stock tie. But in many instances you want the traditional stock tie. If you're fox hunting again, and if you're showing in appointments classes or for certain areas where you need formal attire, the old-fashioned stock tie is much better. It looks better than the ready-made stock tie, and in my experience it's actually easier to tie. The history of the stock tie dates back from the fox hunting days, and it was used it creates a lot of warmth around your neck when you're out riding in the cold fields. It can also be used as a bandage or a sling in case of an injury. I have known of them to be used as a quick pressure bandage to stop bleeding in a wound that happened out in the hunt field. So those are the traditional aspects of it. The biggest fault with many stock ties that you can purchase these days are that they're just too short. This one, they do come in sizes, so you want to do a little bit of shopping around before you buy one. This one is a large stock tie. It's labeled as such, and it is about 67 inches long, so you might want to inquire about the length. This one is actually kind of a minimal length to do the job well, and you'll see what I mean later on when we tie it. So you need one stock tie, and for traditional attire it must be white. Traditional formal attire it must be white. You'll need a plain, not a fancy pin, but a plain gold-colored stock pin. Okay. In the dressage area, many times they wear very fancy, very lovely brooches. However, it's not correct for traditional appointments. So we're going with tradition today. Another thing that will be helpful is two safety pins to pin the ends down, and I'll show you. Okay, I have my riding shirt on. This is not a traditional rat catcher, which is fine. The traditional rat catcher will have a button, two buttons here, and you'll use those buttons to secure the base of the stock. I'll just show you how to do that on this instance. Notice I have tags on here, so I want the tags to be on the inside so they don't show. Here is a little buttonhole in the center of the stock tie, and that's where, if I had a button, I would button it to my rat catcher shirt so that it holds it a little more securely. It's not essential, but it is very helpful. Okay, also on the stock tie there's a loop or a gap. You can see my finger fitting through there, and the end of the stock tie goes through there so that it lies flat. So I'll begin with putting my stock tie where it would go if I were to have buttons on my rat catcher. Now I can take the end and thread the end through the little gap. There we go. Okay, now you can put the stock tie as tight as is comfortable to you. You don't want it too tight. You don't want to feel like you're choking yourself. And I'm going to move it up a little so that the edges of my shirt aren't quite showing. And we'll make sure the edge is flat. Okay, now on many stock ties, there is once you get them straight, there is a longer side. This stock tie is actually pretty squarely even from left to right once it's in place. If you have one that's slightly longer, you're going to start your square knot of the stock tie with the longer side. And there's a tradition, if you were ever a Boy Scout or Girl Scout, to make a simple square knot. You tie the knot right over left and left over right. Well, we'll do that in this instance. We're going to imagine that this is the longer side. That would be the side I would start with. So we'll make our square knot by turning right over left and just doing it like I was tying a pair of shoes. Make it a little bit snug, And now left over right. And what I want is my square knot to lie flat so that it's kind of got a, I don't know, almost a sleeve-like appearance. Okay, and one side of my stock tie will be slightly shorter than the other. Now I'm going to take the extra end and flip it over. The extra end on the other side, do the same thing, flip it over. And I want to create, so it's a little bit puffy, not terribly puffy. Too puffy is too much, but just a little bit puffy. And what I want to do is create a V where those two ends of the stock tie lie over, create a V so that I can see the top of the knot. Now I take my plain gold-colored stock pin, and I'm going to run it through both pieces that flap over. And I'm also going to run it through some of the threads in the knot so that it stays in place. This is the traditional method from the old Wadsworth book, Riding to Hounds in America, and that's the standard that we go by. Some people do put the pin down here because it might be a little bit easier, but the correct traditional way of doing that is to run the pin through the knot. Now I will take my little safety pins below and just pin the ends of the stock to my shirt so that it stays tucked in when I put my riding jacket over. I don't want any of the pieces of the stock coming loose and flapping in the breeze. Everything must look tidy. And pin the stock to the shirt. And if you notice too, I have my hair done tidily. I have it gathered behind my neck, and I have it secured in a hairnet so that little loose pieces will be contained with the hairnet so that it all has a very, very neat and tidy appearance. And now I'm ready to put my black jacket on to complete my formal attire and my approved helmet, and away I go. Thank you for joining us today. This is your host, Alida Bunny Hendricks. And thank you for joining us at allhorsetalk.com. And until next time, I'd like to remind you to be good to your horse and be good to yourself. Bye-bye.